Adam Zahr, welcome, bro. It's we had our first connection last week, and a week later here we are. And I appreciate you making the drive out here to Penrith.
My pleasure.
We've had a pretty interesting conversation prior, and now we can finally start the potty. And for me, where I want this conversation to go is, and we spoke about this when we first connected as well, is around how do we as fathers, as men, build success without sacrificing our family? And that's a big thing for you. It's a big thing for me. And for my circumstance, there was a period, which we'll dive into further in the episode, around where I now see that I sacrifice my family to a degree for business. And I know a lot of men fall into that trap as well.
Yeah.
But where I want to start this conversation is, I've seen a quote on your page, and it goes, every time those little hands reach for you, they're not pulling you away from your work, they're reminding you why you're working so hard. And I love that.
Straight into the feels.
Straight into the feels, bro.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Firstly, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity, for feeling like I could be of value, or be able to have a good conversation with you and share my insights about what it is that I'm doing. And also, I think importantly to the listeners that want to tune in and listen to us, give a bit of insight on how we balance business and fatherhood and everything in between. That first quote that you mentioned, it's so interesting that you picked that one, because that was one of the first pieces of content that really, firstly the impact that I had when I was able to share that kind of insight, and that, call it coining a term or whatever it might be. I found so much engagement off that particular comment, and it started when I was in my home office. So very brief context, I have HQ and I have a home office, and I call that home office a bit of a, an empire office, right? Like, the challenge with having a couple of different entities is when you move into that environment, when the team is there, you get pulled into that direction. And you have to put out, either some fires or a bit of coaching or training or whatever it might be. And you kind of lose the idea of being able to focus on the wider picture. So my home office is an opportunity for me to be able to literally sit, like, as I've got my home, and then detached to the home in the backyard, similar to our environment here. We have the opportunity to be extremely close, present, and within hand's reach of our family. And the way that we kind of set up the home office was that I've got windows on each side, and where the trampoline is, I see my kids on it. Where the grass is in the backyard and the slide, and I see everything at every opportunity. That didn't come without the challenges, though, of my kids knowing that that's Dad's home office. So because I'm spending 20 to 30 hours there a week, I'm limiting the time that I'm spending away from home, because during that 1 to 5 year period, I want to be as present as possible, right? For the little hands that reach for me. And I say that because when I used to not remember to lock the door, they could have access from either the garage or the side door that goes in from the backyard. And when they would do that, sometimes you're in flow, right? And I've been guilty of this in the past, and I'm not going to say that I won't be guilty of it in the future. But when you're in flow and you know what your flow state looks like to try and get back into, sometimes you kind of you get this tad frustrated. Like, the kids run in and they're so happy to see you, and you look at it as an initial distraction, but I say in another term, which is quite similar, it almost gives you the opportunity to remind yourself that it's not a distraction, it's the reason in which you're doing all of this, right? And I say that it's because when they reach for me, I'm always sitting down at the office, or I'm always sitting down in the home office, and they'll reach for me to pick them up, so that they can play with what's on the table, or pick up the markers, or draw on the book that you've got what seemingly is important notes. And I remember just being able to to sit back, and when I felt guilty the first couple of times, you tend to feel it when you're, when you're reflecting and you're like, I could have probably done that a little bit better. I could have probably not rushed them out of the office, or not like, why am I doing what I'm doing? It's because of them. So they reminded me a bit of a trigger and an anchor to what it is that I was doing. And, you kind of come up with these little terms, and you make them stick, and you leverage over time ways to make it sound, what you were trying to say sound a lot better in a small little phrase. So.
Yeah, managing that guilt is something that I've struggled with.
Yeah.
Because it's like you feel guilty for the way you react when they come in and they grab you, come, Dad, do this.
Yeah.
And then there's also another aspect of you feel guilty that you feel like you're not doing enough in the business to provide for them as well.
Yeah.
And it's like that full circle is like balancing how your days are structured and your priorities in your day. Like now, I ensure I wake up at 4:30 in the morning so I can get deep focused work in before she wakes up, because I know as soon as she wakes up, like she's going to want all my attention.
Yeah.
And I have training and everything else to do. So it's comes down to maximizing the time that you have when you have it, and just understanding as a parent, like your kids need you, they demand your time. And
you said it so well. from a maximizing, I think we were just talking about it obviously prior to this, and like the morning routines, and like the overcomplicated, like unrealistic routines that you see people kind of like suggesting as the optimal state, or whatever it might be. But the way that you say it from a maximized position, like that you've only got a couple of hours, and people will tear you left and right saying that this is the way to do it and this is the way to do it. You do it the way that you have to do it. There's nothing sexy about it. Like if you have to get up at 4:30 to have one great hour, like my kids are up at 5:30. So if it's not anywhere between 5 and 5:30, I know that's like the danger zone.
Yep.
I rely on them to wake me up most of the time, right? Like if I'm really excited to do something, I naturally will wake up 4 o'clock, 4:30. Like if I'm trying to finish something, or there's something that's just really exciting right now, my body will wake me up. There's no like a secret trick to it, or like shortcut, or for me anyway, right? Like I don't have this like incredible morning routine that people look at and can think that, I must be doing it very differently. It's not the case. I have really, really clear windows that I know I'm going to be optimal. And in the morning, I make sure that my morning routine is intertwined with my children being awake.
Yep.
Right. Like a simple piece of value from what it looks like for me. Right. And for context, like, I think it's probably a good opportunity for me to give some kind of like context for who I am or what I do. In terms of just like, I am a father of 3. I have a 3-year-old, well, three kids that are 3 and under 3. How can I say that? My son is 3, my daughter is 2, and my newborn is 4 weeks old. So not even a year old, obviously. And I am an entrepreneur. I train, or I help. I coaching dads in business, and my life generally is balancing those roles, right, and helping other fathers do so. And I have my morning routine, which is so clear, where I will wake up. I have my journal that will stay with me. I'll walk into the garage because I've got a buy-in with my wife, and it's like my wife, I know during this season, she's going to have restless nights throughout the night, and it's my role as the father to be able to look after the other 2, because they too will wake up during the middle of the night and come into the bed, and my daughter will wake up occasionally at 2 o'clock or 2:30 with a nightmare or something, the temperature's like, whatever it might be, and that's my role, right? Like we have clear understanding of like what we do together. And I will take my book and I will tell my wife knows that we will go to the other end of the house to my home office or my garage, which is set up in a quite comforting way. And I will sit there and I will journal my 3 points of gratitude, and the kids will be, generally get them a small snack like a yogurt or something. They love snacking at that time. And then they'll ride their bikes in the garage and through my office, and they'll do loops, and I'll write my gratitude points down amongst the chaos that is there. And I know for that 1 hour that it's an opportunity for me to be able to check what my EA has presented me for, for the day ahead, making sure that I have given her the accurate understanding of what my calendar looks like for the day. And it's all happening it's not happening in a perfect manner. Like, it's just happening in a way that needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
And my wife, after an hour and a half, will have her, her restful recovery, because I know most parents will know that newborns generally at that 6 o'clock time, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock time, they love to have their sleep then. They just they love napping at that period, and it's it's a good opportunity for you to be able to give the mother or the sole parent an opportunity to recover and get some rest during that period. So for me, I know where my role is really, really important at that time. And prior to the newborn, that was my training time.
Yeah.
So you maximize exactly the time that you have, and you set it perfectly. I don't need to jump in the sauna at that time. When if I bought into what social media was telling me, I should be in that sauna at 4:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock, and I should do it every day. And it's not a realistic, sustainable, flexible approach to a dad.
Meditation, you
breath work,
20 list of things.
It's just for me, I tried all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't sustain any of it. And I honestly didn't feel any better. There were times where it was there's that little bit of energy rush that's come back, but I can find those avenues or vehicles elsewhere. I don't need to do it during the times that my kids are they haven't seen me all night, or they want me in the morning. They want dad, they want mum, right? So I maximize that time period. And then when my wife gets up, we have the opportunity to then share or rotate, and I'll go and train. And we don't have this 50-50 aspect. There's no there's no 50-50 approach in marriage or parenting, or that I feel is extremely unhealthy if that's how you try and look at your relationship as well, I've done this for an hour, now I need my hour. My wife will do 80-20 ratio sometimes, and I'll do 90-10, right? It's a marriage for that reason. It's not a partnership. So the approach to that is I'll then go and train, and I have the opportunity to go and train and get that 45 minutes to an hour where I do what I need to make sure that my energy is going to sustain past 3, 4, 5 p.m. And I'll make sure that I do what is responsible for myself as a dad, to make sure that I'm not a physical liability, with what I feel we can get into later on about, fatherhood and the expectation around, putting everyone else first except for yourself, especially what that means from a physical aspect. And the importance of looking after you to make sure that you are, around for your kids
Yes.
in the future, and not just, existing now, and yourself, your mindset, your body becomes a liability because you're just not prioritizing it. I think that's a, controversial note or controversial point, as you being a, I want to be careful with what I say.
You don't have to be careful. It's all good.
For me, it's probably one of the most selfish things that any father can do. That wants to say that he's all for his kids, yet he physically and mentally is just all over the shop.
Yeah.
His body is not where it needs to be. He's a physical liability for himself. I read a book, or I listened to a podcast on the dangers of a father being out of shape and what that means. And I've sat at tables with individuals without shaming or anything like that, that I know they're not where they wanted to be, and I'm not where I want to be either, but I actively know that my goal is to be the best version and in the best shape of my life over these next 12 months.
Yeah.
And sustained, right? That's why I'm not doing it as an overnight 3-month, 2-month, like I know what it needs over the next 3 to 6 months within my own, like relationship with food or relationship with the gym or relationship with training to be able to sustain what it is required for me for the next 30, 40, 50 years, right? And I've sat at tables with men that could not look me in the eye because their self-acceptance or self-respect is not present. And they feel like they are almost not in a position to be able to make eye contact or sustain eye contact, or they're always uncertain, is somebody looking at me, or is something like it's. I hate I hate being in that experience because I personally am not judging somebody on that characteristic, but I hate knowing that they know they're not the best version of themselves, or they're not in a position where they know as fathers, like they're not the asset that their children need at that time to be able to like be the active dad that can lift them up, throw them up, be around, chase them at the park, and sometimes all you have to do is go to a zoo on a Sunday and look around.
Yeah.
And they're dads, right? Like there's a difference between dads and fathers, and we touched on that. And anyone can be a father, no one can be a dad. Not everyone can be a dad, sorry. And the dads are at the zoo on a Sunday, right? They're there, and you see them, and they've got they're excited, but they're 50 kilos overweight, and they are not. They're not understanding the importance of being able to literally be there for when their children are going to need them when they're in the real world. Like my father has an incredible impact on me now, more so than I thought back then. Like you take it for granted when you're younger, and I need my dad now. Like I need that relationship, but if he's not going to be there because the health aspects or his relationship with activity or training or food is not on point, or it's not at least something that he's working on, then I feel it's a really, really disappointing measure of a dad's success. So I know we went straight into the nitty gritty of where I feel like the major core importance is, and I look at my business now and the improvement that my business has because I'm just working on me, and I'm working on my physical appearance, and I'm working on the physical aspects, and I've found that my business has drastically grown because I started to get in, or move towards the best shape of my life. So it's there's a direct correlation.
Oh, I 100% agree, and for me now, I'm the fittest and healthiest that I've ever been in my life, and I believe every man, every father should be capable, right? Yeah. Protect and provide. How are you going to protect if you're 50 kilos overweight? Yeah. If something happens to your daughter, your son, how are you going to be able to step up and protect them? You need to be able to lead by example. And you mentioned a key word there around self-respect. Yeah. How do you expect your kids to have self-respect for themselves if you don't even have that for yourself? Yeah. And you're not eating healthy, you're not going out there and training and leading by example, because you can sit there on the lounge and say, eat your vegetables, go for a run. But if you're not doing it yourself, do you think your kids are going to do it? They see everything that you do.
And they love to call it out.
Oh, they do. And that is why, for me, health and fitness is one of my highest values. Yeah. And I bring my daughter with me to the gym, to boxing, to everything, because it shows her the discipline it takes to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Yeah. From a young age, instilling that healthy mindset and that healthy relationship when it comes to food, when it comes to training, and understanding this is what it takes. Yeah. And to have self-respect for myself, have the discipline, have the mindset, because that's what's going to help them when they do enter the real world. Yeah. When they enter business or whatever they go to achieve in life. If you're healthy and fit within yourself, it puts you in such a better mindset. Yeah. And you would agree with this yourself. If you don't train for a week or train for a couple of days, it drives you crazy and you feel like a slob, and then it affects all the other areas of your life.
Yeah, spot on. So spot on. And I think that the approach to you being able to deal with that and not be so hard on yourself during those periods, and know, like my brother, for example, my brother and my mum and my two brothers came down because my son was born, and they gave the 2 or 3 weeks of routine to set in before they came and visited from Byron Bay or Brisbane and Ballina. And when family is over, like I've been on a deficit for about 3 months, and really tracking everything, watching my food, training extremely hard, and in routine, like specifically off what my coach has given me. When they came, it's like you're just in such great spirits, right? Yeah. It's like you want to show them what the best restaurants are, or bring the best food, or whatever it might. And you need to be able to enjoy those moments, right? Like really enjoy the fact that this is, call it a little season, right? A little opportunity for you to be able to enjoy with family and friends, and food generally does that. And for 4 days, I can assure you, I did not track to my coach's expectations. But first thing is being honest with yourself.
Yep.
Like I still tracked the food that I was eating, and those ballpark numbers were not something you showed to the coach, right? I gave a lot of context around the period, and a good coach understands that. It's if coaches would be so incongruent if they knew that you weren't going to have these times, right? But the most important thing is it's not like you don't extend that period for the sake of it. It's like, oh well, I've not eaten well for the last 4 days. What's another 3 or 4 days going to be? That's like reversing and accidentally bumping into a car and then saying, well, fuck it, I might as well write off the entire thing, right? A small little dent in your progress is not going to be something that you then need to go and obliterate your entire, routine and goal and progress for. So being able to do that, I think it's so critical. But I love what you said in terms of, I remember when you told me on the phone that you bring your daughter to the gym, and you bring into work and with clients, and she jumped into the Zoom that we were in. And that is so important, because I've seen the approach to people trying to live by that and being like, oh, we take our kids everywhere, but like you do it, you said it perfectly. From like parenting, parents expect their kids to be, the best version that they can be. And they generally push them into directions that they know they wish that they strived for, right? So they kind of want their kids to live through them. For you, it's, you from your parents and from how you teach in general, like you kind of give your children direction either through the wisdom or the wounds that you've shared, right, in your life. And the wounds are generally, and if you've got a great development or great personal reflection on what those wounds were, you can turn them into a really good positive, right? And I was somebody that has done that with even just routine and like food and parenting and what I grew up knowing about, like even my own parents' relationships. And not that it's terrible, it kind of crafted me into who I was today, and I'm so grateful for it. And the wisdom you kind of like you keep passing through, right? You want it to continue through generational, not just wealth, generational wellness. You want your kids to have that generational wellness, because generational wealth isn't necessarily an asset. It could be the spiral of what your family has built over years and years and years to just provide somebody with a lump sum, inheritance that they have no concept or no conceptualization of what they should do with. And that could be extremely dangerous as well, without the right guidance over 10, 15, 20 years. And that's my goal for my children, providing generational wellness around what is expected to sustain the life that they want to be able to have, and the knowledge and the real world experience that they're going to have to be able to forge into this world, especially with the direction of where it's going. Because it's not that we live in a terrible world, but there are terrible things that are happening around us every single day, and I want them to be as protected as possible when I'm not around.
Yeah.
Right. So I want that generational wellness to be the first, the area of my legacy that I focus on. Right. But for, your daughter being in the gym, like I said it recently, and I'm really, really strong on this. I want my children to be the reason that I do hard things. Right. I want them to be I want my children I want to be the reason that my children choose to do hard things, right? And challenge themselves, because you're not going to be like, you tell them to eat their veggies and they're watching you not eat your veggies. That's one thing. You tell them to train for a marathon or train to lose 20 kilos or train to do something that is like, the work involved is significant. The willpower that's associated to it, the discipline, the consistency, the sacrifice. You can get your kids to eat vegetables 1 or 2 nights a week and you think that the parenting has worked. You allow yourself, okay, to show them how to, choose willingly to do hard things. And I think all the areas that you see from, the standard of expectation, the standard of individuals currently, it's not difficult to go out there and be something now, like be a success. Like, you look at where the bar is.
It's so low.
And I'm kind of, inadvertently, that the ones that I want to be able to support are the ones that they kind of have their hand out, right? And the ones that I want to be able to share wisdom or pathways that have worked, collapse time for others in terms of like what kind of effort or learnings or skill set or strategy should be involved in certain periods that I have been able to see a seemingly comforting area or comforting level of success in. I will do that for the individuals that are willingly wanting to improve, willingly wanting to learn. And more so over the last couple of years, I've realized not many people want to be able to move out of the shit that they're in. Like, they have this comfort in the discomfort of poor standards and poor performance and poor income and poor salaries and poor health. The term, having individuals like, initial, skin in the game, attaching a financial amount to people willing to, to make a move, or, people that buy, or people that pay attention. You see that so much with the approach of like, I willingly have such a fulfillment of going out there and sharing things with people. And I finally realized that is not serving them or me in any way if they're just generally not on the bus. Like, if they're not interested in improving, you kind of like, you find that I could have given all those resources and all that time and all that energy to somebody that genuinely wanted to hear what it was that was going to be able to move the needle in their life, versus it falling onto deaf ears of somebody that's going to take no action in their life. And I'm sure you've experienced.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, right?
Exactly.
And we talk about the standards of society now, and I'm going to refer to men and fathers in the standards of health, business, everything like that.
Yeah.
And I've been receiving a lot of messages lately from both males and females saying, "Oh, you're such a great dad." And it's actually gotten to the point that it actually annoys me now, because for me, I just see it like that's the standard of what it is to be a dad. Yeah, as society, it's like they put you on a pedestal and go, "Oh, you're such an amazing dad." I'm like, no, this is how dads should be.
Yeah.
And the other side of me is like, I'm glad people are seeing it, because I hope to the fathers out there that are seeing it, it opens their eyes into, fuck, I need to pick up the standard here. I need to
what it should look like.
Yeah.
What the day-to-day deliverables should be from a like a baseline.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
It's really not that hard. Like, but not a lot of men are willing to actually step up and show up.
Yeah.
And I love the piece around, you want to be that example that makes your kids do hard things.
Yeah.
That is a big reason why I push myself mentally, physically, spiritually. Like, we spoke on the phone around in November, I'm having my second fight. 2 weeks later, doing 50K ultra.
Yeah.
That'll be my last challenge for this year, unless I get roped into doing something else. But for me, my daughter is the biggest motivating factor for that.
Yeah.
I don't care about the event itself. Yes, I want to challenge myself. Yes, I want to, do well in it, of course.
Yeah.
But it's to be the example for my daughter, to see all the training that I put into it, the discipline, the self-respect, the hard work to go out there and achieve those things. Coming back to what I said before, it's they see you do it and then they're going to go out and do hard things too.
Yeah.
Like my daughter now, she wants to go to the gym and do pull-ups and stuff like that. So we do the banded pull-ups. And I think within the next year, she'll be doing pull-ups by herself.
Yeah.
Because she sees me do it. She wants to emulate that and go and do the same thing. And she's pushing herself to do harder things. And then she walks around. What I love most about it is she will do something and she goes, I can do it. I'm a strong girl. And I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even have to say anything. But just by me leading by example, it's given her the confidence to be able to do those things and have the confidence in herself to go, I'm strong. I can do this.
Yeah. And it's also a testament to what you obviously, the kind of words that you feed into her mind about, her being a strong girl and her being able to achieve and her being, it's tough when you from a young age, they're not hearing those kind of things, like, the effort that they're putting in, and not necessarily even like well done on achieving or getting the outcome. You want to be able to make sure that it's not just tied to a result, it's tied to like the effort that's involved. You don't want them to feel as if they haven't hit a result, they're going to be down. You want them to know that because they put in so much effort, you reward that effort with compliments and affirmations and appreciation. I was fortunate to learn that piece from a mentor of mine. He's passed away now. His name was Kerwin Ray. You might know who Kerwin is. And he talks significantly around why there is an importance around being a father and why there is an importance about being a great business owner and leader or whatever it might be, a career-driven individual. And I was initially drawn to Kerwin because my son was born and we named him Noah. And Kerwin was the first mentor I ever met, ever went and saw. And his son was Noah. Yep. And I was like, this is the universe pulling me in the direction that I need to be in. Right. So I threw every single last dollar that I had into a $6,000 or $7,000 ticket at the time for a NISI program that he had, I believe it was. And I was so fortunate that I went there because it was literally the trajectory of me being in business and still, I'd say sustaining in business up until that point. And then it was a self-development journey that I went on from there. And he talks a lot about the attachment and the importance of attaching towards the work that was involved and the effort that was involved rather than, great job on achieving said result. Yeah. Because then if they don't hit it, they're so down. They're so disappointed because now that there is a direct correlation between the amount of effort that they've put in and that effort is required for them to hit certain goals, right? Rather than just not achieving something because of multiple different variables. But I love I love that she has that. She can already understand and conceptualize the fact that she is a strong girl and she should do this and she's going to be the strongest in school. And I'm sure she already probably says that around the class.
Yeah, a little Miss Independence. I love because me growing up as a kid, I never had that confidence. Yeah. And that was a big driving force for me to do the work on myself. Yeah. So I could lead, for example, for her. And it's all about the journey as well. Yes, the effort, everything, but it's enjoying the journey and being the best version of you and doing your best job at whatever you do. Like a big thing that my own father instilled in me was, I don't care what you do. If you want to be a garbage man, whatever, just be the best garbage man that you can be. And it transfers into everything in life. Yeah. You're just going to be the best version of you.
Spot on.
You may not achieve said goals, but as long as you're enjoying the journey, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve along that, and you're going to look back and go, wow, look how far I came.
Yeah, spot on.
It's beautiful when you're able to reflect on some of those lessons that your own parents have given onto you.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you don't.
The good and the bad.
Yeah, you don't necessarily see it until. I think the biggest thing for me is like when I did become a father, I was able to reflect on my own parents, and that gave me a lot of insight into seeing the lessons that they were trying to instill.
Yeah.
And now they've finally instilled. And for you, what were some of the pivotal lessons that your parents instilled into yourself?
We talked about it on the call, and I'm going to bring up the big word of faith.
Yeah.
I grew up with, a child of divorce, and my father was a Muslim man who was living in Sydney at the time. My mother is an Australian woman, grew up in Gladstone, which doesn't get any more Aussie.
Yep.
Right next to Rockhampton, and up in the north of Queensland, I believe. My geographical understanding is not the best. But she moved to Sydney. She moved to Helston Park, and she met my father at a mosque. Believe it or not, she was her neighbour was a Middle Eastern woman, and they'd gone to it. It was a festive occasion at the time, and my mum was there helping out, and she met my father, and he was doing something outside of the mosque, or traffic control or security, something like that. When they were really young, he does a lot of like community work for the mosques and stuff like that. And my mum, not a religious woman at all, met him. The dynamic was already blonde Australian, woman, and Lebanese man, are both so young, in their, I think, early 20s, 20, 21 at the time. It kicked off, and then, they got married, and, my older sister, Sarah, was born. I was born. There's a few years between us, and then my son, my younger brother, Zane. And then I believe it was probably around 7 or 8 that my parents split. And my mum was a very independent woman. Her mother had passed when she was 14 in a car accident, and my grandfather at the time, he delivered the news in not the best way, and then told them, well, kind of like within that week, you're off to boarding school now. And she understood what it meant to be independent. You were just on your own. You're in a boarding school environment, and she did high school through there, and then she left to come to Sydney after that, and kind of her roots were established, right? Like, she was a strong, independent woman, and she had big dreams and big aspirations, and the concept of her not reaching those goals was not an option, right? Like, she wanted to be. She was a police officer for 20 plus years, right? And that was a huge area. She did liaising for children. She worked around a lot of Aboriginal children that were in and out of homes, and when my parents got a divorce, she kept moving within the station. Like, she'd get, she had an ideal location she wanted to be, and that was around the north, the Tweed region, like the Northern Rivers area, Ballina, Byron, that kind of lifestyle for us to grow up with, the beach environment and whatnot. So, I at that age, you generally move with your mother, and we were all young, and she was a single mother of 3, and she just soldiered on, right? I remember, I know back then, right, like looking at what my mum, what she went through from just like week to week living. You didn't know it then, right? Like, you kind of asked yourself, why don't I have what my friends had? Like, I was in a private Catholic school. Catholic, Christian, I wasn't that present. But I knew that we didn't have what others had, but we were the happiest kids ever, right? So there's a lesson in that. from a materialistic perspective of not needing to have anything and still having everything, right? But during that time, I was very, very, I didn't have direction, so to say. And I knew my father was a religious man. I knew that there were areas that I disappointed him in, because I was living in an area that, like, partying and doing the wrong thing, and like that was so common, right? Like, you're in an area like the beach vibes, and it's a beach environment, and kids are, you're talking about the areas where people are, they smoke marijuana to when they wake up, and like it's not an environment for for individuals that have aspiration at a young age. And when I was 16, I had an opportunity to move to Sydney to actually go to a football school in the Central Coast. So I took the opportunity at 16, and that was a really tough time for my mum. Like, she's raised us as a single mum, and my dad hadn't had his children around, and that was really hard for him. You could almost see he was breaking, right? Every time we'd see him for school holidays, he'd be a little bit more broken. And I wanted to fix that. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be an opportunity for him to be able to have a Father's Day where there's one of his kids there, right? Because I don't think that there's anything, being a father now, that would destroy me more than my kids not being around. Like, I can really understand that concept now of why it is such from a mental health perspective for fathers around children. I will. People say that they'll die for their kids, but it's not even a question, right? I would be the first person to take that ticket before anyone could even say a word, right? If push came to shove, right? Yeah. So not having them around for years and years and years, I'm not sure how my father did it, right? And I wanted to be that first, the first kid to come back and kind of live with him, and that was a huge change. And for a couple of years, I went to school in the Central Coast whilst living in Sydney, and that was, the 4 a.m. wake-ups to get on a train and go to the Central Coast, and back at 7 p.m. I'd be home just to chase a football dream. It didn't amount to what I wanted, but I was fortunate that during that time I found business. But the long way around your question was, my father was, he practiced faith. Like, he's a Muslim man, and I found that even though I wasn't the diehard or the fanatic or the discipline, like every single day I was living by that, by my faith, whatever faith it might have been. I found that it gave me the structure that I needed, and it gave me a foundation and a rhythm that was so, like, I put it down to one of the most influential parts of my career and my businesses and my life, and the ability for me to be able to have that kind of structure. So knowing that my father tried for years and years and years and years and years to be able to do, to be able to get me to a point where I was doing what I was doing when I came to live with him, showed me that I wouldn't do what my dad did to try and get me to be a boy of faith or a man of faith, and know that there is somebody watching, or somebody of a higher power, and that your decision making is essentially being judged, right, by somebody other than him, and that allowed me to kind of be a little bit more tailored in my approach of my values and what I value and what I want to align to, with having honest relationships and being supportive and being able to provide opportunity and all that kind of stuff. So the biggest thing I would say is that I knew that the avenue of pushing my kids to do something is not the lesson in it is not the direction that I know is going to achieve the desired result. But making sure that you do give opportunities you do give opportunities for them to know that some of those really, really big pillars you have to lead by example from a young age. Because I see my kids now, and I'm not even talking about it, but they're aware. And because I'm not expressing it solely to them, I'm finding that they're so receptive over it. And even, I speak for my son mainly, but as a 3-year-old, just watching my patterns and my habits and what I do on a day in, day out. So I think that was one of the biggest parts for me, and the determination and like sacrifice that my mum had played a huge role in, like her hard work and her ability to provide, even when it almost seemed like she was running on empty. So
how did that impact you from a emotional standpoint when it comes to your mum? Because her, from a young age, having to be independent, then going into the police force, I would say she would have to step a lot into her masculine energy. For you and for her, like being a mum, did that impact you on an emotional level? Like, did you get that emotional love from her?
my mum was the most affectionate and emotionally loving mother that I've ever seen, right? Like, I see my wife now, it's like, and I look and I see like the similarities, and knowing like how important it was for my mum to be like, I would, to the age of like 5, 6, maybe more, I would still go into my mum's room and sleep, in her bed, because like it was so normal for all of us. And because we were, there was the 4 of us for so many years, and we, me, my brother and sister, we had our own beds, but we'd find our way into sleeping next to each other. And that was because it was like all we knew. Like we were like, we'd moved from where we were comfortable into a new city multiple times, from Sydney to Port Macquarie to Ballina. And it was all we knew, like was, that wherever we were, that was home. So the affection was so significant from a young age. And I believe, like looking at the wisdom or wounds, the wisdom and the opportunity for me to be able to see how important that is for my family. Like, I am the most affectionate dad you'll ever, apart from your own self, right? And I know how affectionate you are. And I think, like, how could you not be this level of, like loving and caring? And like I kiss the cheeks off my kids every single day. Right. And I know that my mum used to do the exact same thing. And like, we could never leave the house without saying I love you, because my mum would threaten me and be like, what happens if I'm not here when you're home?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, wow. Like, and you would, even if you're in an argument, you have to say I love you and hug and kiss. And funnily enough, it would all go away. Whatever the problem was, it would go away, because the affection and the love and the genuine love was always there. There was never a time you couldn't go to bed without saying I love you. You couldn't go to bed without saying sweet dreams. There were so many areas that I look back and I think I genuinely feel sorry, or I wish every child could have that upbringing and that love, right? Because I know they don't. And I think that's another mark that they have to add to their column of, of trauma that they have to get over, or they have to fix, that they need to be able to fix before they get into their own family and they take their own route and journey down that life of having children and having a wife or having a partner, and being able to overcome that. Because if you don't, and you're not used to that, you either take it as a wound and you carry it as a wound, and that's not going to be nice for anyone.
No. I love that you just brought that up, because it really hit me when it comes to my own mum. And she was very much the same. Every time we go to bed, good night, I love you. Every time we leave the house, I love you. Yeah. Even this morning, she sends me a message saying, I love you. I'm so grateful for you and the relationship that we have. Because there was actually a period of my life where I thought it was a bad thing that my mum was giving me so much affection. I was a mummy's boy. And that was more so when it came to past relationships.
Yeah.
And now seeing it, they had different upbringings. They didn't have that love and that affection that I got. So they seen it as like weird and different.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I'm so grateful I had that.
Yeah.
Like, my mum is so loving, And, you know, there's so much wisdom to come from that. But also my dad, there's wounds that come from that too, because he wasn't so loving and affectionate. It was pretty closed off.
Yeah.
And having both that wisdom and that wound has
Yeah.
shaped me into who I am, and shaped me into the father that I am for my daughter.
Yeah.
Because you look at it and you learn from it. You go, okay, I want to take this. I don't want to take that.
Yeah.
And it really shapes you into the man that I am for my daughter now. And I am so loving, so affectionate, so supportive, and so present within her life, because half of me didn't get that growing up, and half of me got a lot of it growing up. And I just wanted to, you know, be that best version of me for my daughter, and you're doing the same for your kids.
And the nail on the head from, like, I will never, ever, ever allow like myself to give validation to anyone anymore, because it's so common to almost see a lack of affection in other like households when I was growing up in school, right? Like you'd go to friends' houses and like it was a bit cold.
Yeah.
Right. And I used the opportunity where I look back at areas where I might have wanted to seek a bit of validation of, like, you know, that maybe I wasn't, you know, I didn't get that affection. I'm a strong boy,
Yep.
you know. But then I had kids, and I will never, ever allow myself, like, I look at my son Noah and I think the day that you ever, like, not want to be affectionate with me or give me a kiss back or give me a hug or go a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks without speaking to me will be the worst days of my life. And then that reflection, I look at my current relationship with my mum and I go, I haven't even called her this week. Imagine how I feel, okay, when I look at my son and think, if you ever do that to me, I will be broken. And then you think, how incongruent and hypocritical of you. And you catch yourself. And then I call my mum, and like the message she sent you, I'll send that to her. Yeah. And sometimes it's funny because even her, actually, probably not the best thing to say, but I've been made fun of, right, by, you know, maybe people in her life that have seen that message and we're like, oh, mate, you're a 19, 20, 21-year-old at the time where I started really leaning into it. You don't need to send those kind of messages to your mum. You're a man now. And it's like, you get a few of those kind of like sideline comments, and that can derail you from a validation perspective of like, are you doing the right thing? Am I a man? Should I be, you know? And I think that I want my son, my daughter, both my sons to message me, talk to me like in a way that they know that the affection will last forever.
Yeah. And
the love will last forever. And there is never, ever, ever, ever going to be a time where like that door will be closed. It almost seems like no matter what could ever happen. Like I could never imagine a life where I go a week without speaking to my kids. So it's like an ability for me to be able to just check in with myself and remind myself of the priorities, because I am a very affectionate, you know, man when it comes to even my mum and my dad, because I'm very blessed to have incredible relationships with both my parents, and I would not change anything for the world about how my upbringing was. Nothing, because I'm going to own that. Like a lot of people can't own that, and that's like, it's like I feel so fortunate that I'm not going to sit there and say that I had a troubled life growing. I had an incredible life growing up, regardless of like being a child of divorce. I think that shaped me even further to be the best dad and the best husband and that I possibly can be. So I am so grateful for the amounts of affection that I've got in my corner and the people that I have in my corner.
Yeah. Wounds and wisdom, eh? Wounds and wisdom.
Yes.
And I seen this video probably a couple of weeks now. You know Patrick Bet-David?
Yeah.
And he was talking about the toughest role as a parent or as a father is that our kids are our purpose, right? We do everything for our kids to build them up, but we're raising them up to live without us, to go out on their own path and their own journey. And that's the hardest thing as a father, is like one day you have to let go to a degree.
Yeah.
And I think about that. I'm like, I can't imagine my daughter.
It's debatable.
I don't want other guys. No, lock your door. It's interesting because they will eventually go out on their own path. But as you said, you can still allow them to do that. But simple messages, simple phone calls, like you're still always going to have that connection.
It nails home the preparation that's involved during these younger years of getting them ready for the real world, and getting them ready to understand what their value is, and what their values are, so that they know where the red flags are within an initial relationship or an initial career, or ensuring that their self-respect and their mental wellness is in check for them to be able to handle life without us. Because the same way that we prepare our team to still maintain their own, creative edge in business, and giving them the independence and giving them the opportunity to understand techniques or lessons or strategies or learnings, so that they can still be their best version, or the A player that they are, or the critical leader that they are, to lead other leaders. You do that by not micromanaging their every move and not micromanaging their decision making. And the same goes to our children. Like, I give you an example of being not forced, but just like something being rammed down my throat to be able to learn, or to be a version of. And the only thing that did was cause friction for me to not want to do that. And I think for our kids, if we're not allowing anything to ever, with limitation, be off limits, right? The moment we put our finger on something and say, this, Sarah, you don't ever do this, or go there, or see this, or eat that food, alarm bells go. I only want that now.
Yeah.
Because it's a natural human instinct to chase what you can't have. So if you're going to be putting limitations on everything in our kids' lives, don't be surprised by the results that you get for the actions that you took yesterday and the day before and the year before, because you physically put this border around something that they want to now explore. And I know that, giving that, and you said it yourself, like being able to set the the opportunity, prepare them to be able to do things and be ready in their in the world when they are set free, is important. But I think there's a really, really significant boundary that within our generation, as I feel, has been crossed too many times with what is expected from kids and what is expected from children, especially some of the things that I see these days. But anyway, that's another topic.
Whole new rabbit hole. What I want to touch on is around the 5 stages that fathers in business fall into. And when I seen this on your page, it really hit home to me as I spoke to you off air before. Could you run the listeners through that quickly?
Why did I create that? It became the biggest smack in the face for a lot of viewers, right? And it's, to zoom out on what the concept is, it's literally taking fathers from understanding that, they go into business wanting to do everything for their kids and, throwing a little bit of extra time here and there, and what that time away from their family really means. And all of a sudden they're getting into this state of, a slight overwhelm of now the business is kind of taking a hold of their lives and their schedule, and they're starting to really, really give the best to those that pay them and the rest to those that love them. And when they're experiencing the guilt of physically being present, but mentally being in a different place, and what that guilt looks like, I started to see the trend. And this was early from acquaintances, or even some extended family, and the pattern or stage I know that they're at, And you don't have to be within their four walls of their home to know that things are not where they want them to be. And there is resentment building because the frustration starts to build because I'm doing this for you. And now you are giving me all of this grief or friction or challenge, but you realize I'm doing this for you and the kids. And when that gets to that stage, you know they're generally getting to the end of it. And I started to walk through the first few stages. And it wasn't till, and I think I'm extremely, extremely fortunate that I modeled another mentor. And I think that, you know, if you're in the space of mentoring or you're in the space of wanting to be able to know, is a mentor right for me or a coach or whatever it might be, the most important, I'd say, prerequisite is knowing that the individual that you're going to be able to seek this kind of guidance from needs to be somebody that you'd want to be able to model. And if you woke up in their shoes tomorrow, you would appreciate the respect that they've got for themselves and their family and their loved ones, and that you genuinely align with their values, right? The values of what they carry and the values of what they express. So I was following a mentor at the time that I knew I wanted to be able to have, a similar journey to, right? They were balancing being a father really well. You could genuinely see that, online. You could see that when they were in a room with their family and when their kids were present. You could see the way that they would stop the world or stop time when their priorities, being their children and their wife, needed something. And I thought that is exactly the style of man and father and husband that I want to be. And at the time I was in stage 3 where I knew that I was spreading myself thin and I was getting to a point of friction and I didn't know which direction that I needed to go in. And I asked those questions to that person because you want to be able to seek the routine or rhythm that they're going through. And what kind of framework did they put in place when they also would have been going through the same thing? So I was so fortunate that I got to identify from an extrinsic, component what I didn't want to ever be at from a stage, and interviewing a few individuals around what it means to have been in that 4th or 5th stage. It's not a place that I ever want to be in. It's not a place that I ever want to be able to have clients or people that are really close to me finding themselves in, because it is a trap and it is so difficult and scary to be in because you lose touch of reality with what is important to you. And I am going to ride this mission as long as I can to be able to support as many fathers and dads as I possibly can to realize and uncover the number one asset in their life, which is presence and time with their children, especially when their feet are that small. Because 1 to 5, I feel like there is so much guilt that happens. And I interviewed and questioned about 100 entrepreneurs, business owners that are doing 50 million plus, 10 million plus within their own companies. And I asked them all one question, and I think I was sharing this with you. And I said, what was the biggest regret that you had while you were scaling your companies? And they all, inadvertently, or the majority said that whilst their kids were at that age, they would have never scaled as hard as they did, because you seemingly give into the obligation of your children being born, and fathers and dads like you and I have the guilt, that will still feel every day of the balance and expectation that you feel and standard that you feel you need to be able to give during those years. Like, it's obligation lands literally on your table. Yep. And you're like there is a human being I'm responsible for, and the dependency of your wife now that is raising that child, or your partner that's raising that child, and vice versa, that you now need to be able to provide for. And the general rule of thumb is, let's go harder in business. And what then tends to happen is you start to enter the first stage, right? And I find that it's not that they're wrong for doing it. It's not that you're right for doing it. It's just like the natural feeling that you get that you need to just be a million miles an hour now, and you start to really question the amount of work that you put in, the quality of work that you're putting in. Are you working harder, not smarter? And all of these emotions that are coming through to be able to then try and start running a business. Do I bring somebody in to alleviate some of my time? And, which roles should I hire for? And should I expand now, or should I wait till my son is a little bit older, or my daughter's a little bit older? Or, and all these things that happen, you forget that sometimes you're sitting in the living room with your family around, and you wake up and go, where was I for the last half an hour? Because the battle of being a dad comes into the equation, and you might wake up every now and then mentally you are in a different location. Physically you realize you're where you're supposed to be, giving the most time and energy and effort to the ones that are there, and that is where I have found the most emotional areas of guilt in my life. And I have woke up, either it be through distraction, it be through like suffering, mental suffering of like payroll is tomorrow and there is $1,500 sitting in the account, and you've got 20,000 that's outgoing, and you have no idea where it's coming from. And on the outside, you're smiling and things are great, and your team is, high-fiving, and they're off to, and you're just sitting there dark and lonely as hell in a space that nobody gets unless you're in business, and you have no understanding of which direction to go in. You have no guidance, no support, seemingly or generally, no one else that you can share with that's in the same kind of scenario. You speak to somebody that's not in business, and what do they say? You need to slow down. You need to take a step back, and it doesn't work that way most of the time. Like you're moving back already in like a slingshot movement, and you're thinking that the more that you're going to move back with little to no direction, one day you're going to fire off. But sometimes you're pulling back in a direction that's not serving you at all, and taking a step back is not supporting your construct when you're in those conversations, and it generally turns into a bit of conflict. Yeah. And that could be from your partner. It could be from your parents. It could be from your in-laws. It could be from anyone in your world that thinks and genuinely probably is giving you the guidance or the genuine interest of helping you. But it's hard at the top, and not many people know what it looks like. And that lonely area, that dark area that you've been in, that I've been in, and that will never seemingly stop, because life is not going to get easier. We're going to get better at it. So we're going to have an opportunity to constantly be in those environments and be in those dark spaces, but we're going to know almost how to spiral back up out of it. And I think that is so critical when we talk about an aspect of being able to identify and reflect on where we're at in the stages. If we look at the 5 stages and understand what is it going to take for us to get out of that particular stage when we know we're getting into it, because we'll just get into it at different levels. Yeah. And being able to have your own mini SWOT or framework or whatever you want to call it is sometimes nice to be able to identify, because a lot of dads saw that, and when they messaged me, like, you had fathers that were distraught, right? I had really close individuals that their ego and pride was so strong, so headstrong, that even if they knew that I could, support them, or content could support, whatever it might be, they'd never show anything. And then that broke a few of them, right? Because it's like, you don't want to hear what you want to hear. You want to be able to see and watch what you don't want to hear that's going to have an impact in your life. And I want to be a bit of a vehicle for that for dads, because it has so much riding on it for the future of your children, and then what your children's children go on and do, and what your children go on and do, and what that means for your family name, and what that means for your legacy. And it's not just you in that dark moment. It's the years and years that follow that your kids are going to have to be in those dark moments. And if they don't have any strategy, if they don't have any guidance, if they don't have any comprehension or knowledge around it, what are you doing now for them? So that allows me to come back into an obligation state and identify where I'm at, when I'm at that point, and being able to share it with you, and share it with dads, and share it with people that align and have the same level of values as me. And then who does that teach? teaches your team when you're in business, gives them an opportunity to be able to look at you running what you're running and being able to aspire or not even, it doesn't have to be aspire or inspire, or they're able to respect and have guidance outside of just their role or their skill set that they're going to then take into their world when they are, fathers, and when they're parents, and when they're, husbands of their world and their household. So much more riding on it. We have to zoom out sometimes to understand the impact that we are having. So
yeah,
very wholesome area, and I love this area. It's my playground. I want to be able to support as many as much as I possibly can. So
we need to continue having these conversations, putting that content out there, because for me, I've gone through all 5 stages, and even though now I sit here and I see it as a blessing, I would still go back and do things differently, because I know I fucked up, and I take full accountability and responsibility for that. Though it's also made me into the man that I am today, and I know that I will not repeat those same steps again, which is why I'm implementing certain things in my business to be able to delegate all these tasks. So I'm not spending so much time on certain areas. And what you brought up, a very fucking pivotal point around, you're giving your best to the people that pay you.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. And as soon as you said that, I'm like, shit. I was giving all my energy to my clients. And then when I would come inside, I would not have much energy to give.
Depleted.
Yeah. And then my ex would already be pissed off because I've not said did what I said I was going to do, not be there for her, for the family.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I had the right intentions of doing it, but because business was calling me, and in my head I was like, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for the family, to support you. I would put that on the back burner. And for me, I've had to learn the hard way. And I hope by having these conversations, we can prevent that from happening.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes you need to walk that road.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, we can sit here and talk about what it is that we've experienced, and, maybe offer it as a helping hand for somebody. But sometimes they need to walk that route and see what kind of consequences are on the other side, because you generally, and I know for myself, I will seek help in so many different ways. I have life coaches, high performance coaches, I have PTs, business coaches, I have mentors, and every area of my life that I want to be able to have somebody that can take me to the next level, I'll have a coach in that space, right? But that only came through me saying no to a lot of things, thinking that I knew everything.
Yeah.
And that I would be able to achieve the outcome and the result and the answer on my own. And it wasn't until I was able to sit with a handful of extremely intelligent, well-versed, experienced individuals that were able to give me the secret pill in that specific area that was going to move the needle in my business or my life. And I lent into it, and I trusted the process, and then I achieved said outcome that I wanted to achieve in a drastically shorter period of time. Did I then realize that there are others out there that know what they're talking about? And every single time that they suggest something, if my gut initially said that this individual knows what they're talking about, and they have genuine interest and our values are aligned, that would I then take on their recipes or their experience and their product roadmap of such for how I'm going to get to said outcome. So if you haven't got over that state or that stage of trusting in others to have a genuine interest of you getting to a final outcome or a result that you're looking to achieve in your life, then without sounding direct, enjoy the journey of underachievement and frustration and failure and all the things that you don't want to achieve until you get to that point. Because I promise, if you are, if you're open-minded enough, and you genuinely can believe that there are others out there that want to support you, regardless if there is a monetary reward for them, it will drastically change the speed in which you achieve what it is that you want to be able to achieve. So, and I've been so fortunate for my own instances where I know if I spend 6 figures plus a year, that there is going to be genuine, significant ROI attached to the back of that. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. Business is not in some instances it can be, but there is a significant kind of like a belt, like those belts that kind of go around and go around. Eventually it gets to the point where you see, your bag coming out of the, at the airport, and it's like it took an hour for you to get there, but you trusted in the process for you to achieve the result, for you to take your bag off, and you're finally there. So it's a tough one because not everyone is ready to hear what they need to hear. And until that happens, you got to be able to not complain for the results that you've got.
Yeah. Where I want to finish this episode up on is, I was journaling this morning around the difference between being a man of success and a man of substance.
Yeah.
And when it comes to success, it's like the material, the money, sacrificing your family for the business, not a man of morals and values, being very selfish. And at the end of the day, most of those men are unhappy, full of insecurities, unfulfilled in life, no passion, no purpose. But when we speak about substance, for me, it's you believe in something bigger than yourself. You show up every day. You lead by example. You prioritize your family. That's a big thing. Yeah. You're constantly working on yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually. You have a strong set of values and morals. Yeah. Like you're the head of the family essentially, and you have that strong substance. You have those wounds. You have that wisdom which you can draw from, and it helps you to be the best version of yourself. Because success will fade, the money will disappear, the trophies will, like the titles, it doesn't mean anything, but the substance is what you pass down to your kids and what they remember you as well. It's that legacy. Yeah. How important is it for you to be a man of substance?
It's a big end to a great conversation. For me, I mean, for what resonates with me with the word substance is obligation. Like it's I attempt to live in obligation every single day, from the way in which I get up to just waking up into being as readily awake as I possibly can be and present, to the way in which I allow my children to see me from the energized state that I am before I go to bed and when I'm putting them to bed, and what I know I carry on from continuous learning and development and the ability to learn on behalf of them, in the hours that you generally call it a night, is on behalf of them and giving them an opportunity to be guided by their dad, or by Adam and what Adam and Sarah, with my wife, and what I allow us to kind of like feed our mind with on a day-to-day to make sure that it is going to serve them in a way, and we kind of live inadvertently in obligation at all times for them, because everything is centralized around them and what they do, because you start to find that the ones that aren't living in obligation, you see through them. the cars are there and the money is there and even the houses, the assets, but they are not there. They're there in a physical state, but mentally, like their physical appearance, you can see is taking a big toll. Their mental capacity is non-existent, and I always put it down to, if we look at from a success driver, they have everything that you would identify as success in this world, but they have not found the one major area in their life that is fulfilling them. And when you look at fulfillment and purpose, look at the energy that you take into those, those months, those years, those seasons that you're in. And I notice on your shelf, you've got Diary of a CEO, and he talks about the fulfillment bucket, or fulfillment in general, right? And what that does for you in terms of being able to, when everything seems meaningless, right? And fulfillment and obligation and anything you want to wrap around it for how you fill that void. Some people might find fulfillment in charity, like giving charity. Could be $100, could be $1,000, it's relative to your position. And I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I don't think charity is a measure of your financial contribution. I think your contribution could be your ability to give a talk at a youth center, your ability to share value or experience or whatever it might be, because there are levels to what a monetary amount could do versus a conversation or a topic or a sharing that you might have, or a talk that you might have at a local school or what have you, right? But the ones that don't find that fulfillment, or they don't find the purpose of what it is that they're doing it for, like if they're in a business that they seemingly has become dormant in their life, and they're sitting there with a service that ticks along, a product that sells, a team that operates, and it has become this day-to-day lethargic rhythm over 20 or 30 years. Inevitably you realize what purpose are they? So if they're on this comfy mattress that has just been delivering for them for the last 20 years in this granular growth, well, the main point that we need to be able to seek out is the fulfillment and purpose of what it is. What's next, right? And I see the empty shells of some men that are driving the best cars and they have the best homes, but their children aren't around. Their children don't want to be around. Their wives hate them, or they're there as a passenger in their life, and it's because they seemingly have no purpose for what it is that they're doing. Identifying what that looks like for them in their world might be the single biggest asset that they can uncover, regardless of their material items. So I feel from the substance approach and, success being what it is, the substance approach and being able to identify the biggest area in your life that should be around what the purpose and fulfillment, because your purpose might be your children up until 18. Then they live in their own homes with their own husbands and their own wives, and they're eventually it gets to a point where the purpose that they are still the macro purpose of your entire life, and delivering for them, but your day-to-day is still a big part of what you need to be able to seek out as what's the next big thing. And I've seen some incredible individuals build some incredible businesses in the latter end of their life, whilst they already have seemingly successful businesses, but they start a foundation, or they start a charity, or they give back in certain aspects, and you look at them and they are the most present, happy, genuine going individuals that you will ever meet, and it's fueled by their ability to serve, and to give back after they seemingly have seen what it looks like to have it all, and are living in a scenario where they feel like they have that word enough, whatever metric you want to be able to associate to enough. But I love the approach of being able to see the fulfillment goals or purpose driven goals being ticked, because I find that there's a clear awakening that people can have, and clear physical presence that you see in somebody when that void has been kind of found. So
Honestly, I'm grateful for you, bro. Thank you.
thank you, mate. Thank you so much.